Charlie Kirk. When a people is stripped of their culture, they lose their identity. But history has proven identity more resilient. Every stripe of the electoral beast supports mass migration. No major party will ever dare tread this political tightrope. The political parasites justify the flooding of our country by sounding an economic theory more akin to a Ponzi scheme. Reckless migration has never generated jobs, only robbed Australians of them. Under Albanese's Labor mob, their treasonable policy is sending the cost of living spiralling heavenwards. Our social infrastructure, hospitals, healthcare, education and affordable housing is straining under the weight of this superfluous humanity that just keeps coming. In 2024 alone, 600,000 migrants arrived in Australia. They say one every 53 seconds. They come in on visas that the Albanese government has streamlined to up the quota to invasion levels. They arrive to address our skills shortage. It is odd when a well-developed country turns to the underdeveloped world to address skills apparently only available where running water is a luxury. Similarly, if like China, you have your inscrutable eyes fixed on our vast space and resources, they invite them to come and settle in organised diasporas. They enter on skills in demand visas, temporary skilled visas, working holiday visas and family visas. The universal occupying government does not recognise ethnic Australians. Anyone from any background can lay claim to being Australian. Their social justice policies give white Australia an Aboriginal facelift and create paper citizens from the rest of us. How did we get here? Start with the dismantling of the White Australia policy. They said that the White Australia policy was a relic of a less enlightened time. We had a duty to open this big country to the very people that the WAP was contrived to keep out. The think tanks, run by ethnic interests and political activists concerned with Marxism, new liberal economics and their own community interests, generated reports, op-ed pieces, a forest's worth of paper on the new idea of multiculturalism. They lobbied hard. They won. Then came multicultural Australia, just like that. Multiculturalism was a form of surrender. If migrants couldn't learn English, assimilate or integrate to Australian culture, the thinking became just let them come and live as they used to. Print all government messages in every conceivable language. Assimilate to them. When they did that, the Australian project died, and being Australian became a matter of slogans and not ethnicity. It was about mottos, catchphrases and doublespeak. But what really happened was that consumers replaced countrymen. Anti-racist indoctrination provided a protectorate for what was, to be precise, an economic program. It was to stop us ever questioning their true reasons for opening the borders. They wanted us to join the Asian Economic Zone. Now, ditto, India. For the fiat monetary system is a cover word for consumer. Is it any wonder the left to the centrists to economic conservatives supported this new anti-racist state? Then was the humanitarian argument that metastasising ethnic lobbies wrought on us, tied to the 1951 UN Convention on Refugees, which sadly we helped establish. We took our share. These were the pets of the ecumenical forces of churches, synagogues and mosques. Religious collaborators opened the gates to the world, from the Vietnamese to the tens of thousands of Lebanese migrants. Malcolm Fraser, then Prime Minister, even created the Lebanon Concession, which relaxed migration rules, allowing family members to enter Australia. Despite Christian Lebanese lobbyists, 90% of those who came here between 1976 and now were and are Muslims. Then in 1986, the Tiananmen Square massacre ensured we would never lack Chinese when a teary-eyed Bob Hawke figured it was our democratic duty to absorb thousands already here as students, paving the way for their relatives all now secure in our welfare system. They too keep coming. This double helix of misplaced humanitarianism coupled with the Fiat monetary system cemented the anti-racist state, and any talk critical of this bipartisan policy was castigated from all quarters. But now the international flights disgorge not refugees, but international students. The international student scam is decades old and thriving. Right now it accounts for that post-COVID figure of new arrivals. They are here thanks to a fawning deal between that man Albanese and India's Prime Minister Modi. The deal basically goes, we get India's citizens and they get Australia. Pretty soon it won't be Aboriginal grifters welcoming us to country, but some swami from beyond the monsoon. Meanwhile, out west and elsewhere, they are preparing new cities to house the unprecedented wave of immigrants from Asia, Africa, the Middle East, the subcontinent, and our surrounding island neighbours whose imminent arrival they are busily penciling in. In other words, there's no plan to slow it, or better yet, to stop it. Look at Badger East Creek International Airport. They're not constructing that in the hope of a tourist boom. It is to service new settlers, as is the city they are building around it. This is called an edge-city because it runs in tandem with the international student scam. These cities will bus our replacements directly from the airport to their new homes and jobs built over the tops of once proud Australian communities that had history, that had heart. And this comes under the same government bedding down with the Greens and their insane net zero policies. In this rush to welcome the new world into our continent, they drive our precious wildlife onto the scorching highways and into extinction. They tear down their habitats to make room for Sanjeev, Ali, Mohammed and Huang Li in hideous vertical housing projects to bring in strangers from lands you've never heard of. Take a ride on the metro. It's like finding yourself in the Star Wars cantina bar. The most noticeable legacy of decades of migrants from extraneous cultures is their contributions to organised crime. A sea of foreign flags flaps above the illegal trade in drugs, prostitution, armed robbery, assault, break-ins, car rebirthing, cybercrime, illegal tobacco and fraud. How regular are machete attacks in Melbourne committed by youths, as the media code words them? You put a culture based on honour and revenge alongside one concerned with the dignity of the person, and you get dead black kids littering the streets and baffled white altruists who don't know what to do. In Australia, the homicide rate is 0.74 people per 100,000, but in South Sudan it's 10. They plaster our mouths from crying out at this epic injustice. They call us racist if we name the culprits. They expect us to doff our caps and tug our forelocks in deference to our replacements. It speaks volumes that those wagging the finger and telling us what un-Australian it is are imports. Foreigners and ideologues have decided our fate since they conspired for multiculturalism, a system that faced no referendum but was forced on us. They did not have to assimilate to us, but us to them. Foreigners act as prefects over us. Our Multicultural Affairs Minister, Egyptian-born Anne Ali, declared the August 31 March for Australia rallies un-Australian. Being born un-Australian makes her an expert on everything un-Australian. And then comes the Anti-Discrimination Commissioner, a post readily reserved for the type of non-Australian likely to find racism everywhere they look. In this case, Garidaran Sivaraman. You could search the good book cover to cover and never find that name. The foreign minister is a Malaysian-born lesbian. What would the founders of the Labor Party have made of her. Deputy PM Richard Miles reckons that statistics show Australians support more immigration. This is what we are up against. Parliament will not help us because it might as well form part of Sydney's international airport. Little point having it in Canberra since its real constituents are yet to arrive. If someone has multiple personalities, we call them crazy, but fill our country with a multitude of identities and it's supposed to be a Garden of Eden, which brings us to representational government, the very thing that is creating this dichotomy. How can two parties represent such a disparate spread of ethnically diverse, sexually pluralist, religiously incompatible, ideologically diffuse and rabidly anti-white interests? They can't. It's a system from the bygone industrial era. Their solution is more MPs. Ours is a new system. Viewing the nation in terms of a corporation, then according to the psychopathy checklist revised index, then the corporation exhibits all the characteristics of a psychopath. Our system is a psychopath. Right now, the right in Europe is talking about remigration. That means sending back all the interlopers from whence they came. However, the emotion of that solution overrides the realities. It is not feasible. As the authors of this grift know only too well, it is an opiate for the angry white masses. Who will enact it? What public service bureaucracy will facilitate it? How would they attain this goal? Would they lobby their MP? That MP is the problem. They only want our vote. They were raised from university to serve the Westminster two-party system. It feeds, nourishes and nurtures them. They're not us. On their parliamentary salaries, pensions, all taxpayer funded, do they share anything in common with us? Look at Albanese. He's never held a real job. Albo went straight from his free university education into the Labor Party. Now he owns a housing portfolio. Will he answer the cry of the aggrieved patriot? The Fiat monetary system is insatiable. It needs a constant supply of consumers like a vampire craves plasma. You're just a dying section of a larger hive of consumers and from a rapidly declining gene pool. Africa and India offer boundless replacement consumers. We're not communists, we are Australians, but a proud ethnicity alone won't bolster corporate coffers. Any answers to the crisis of unfettered migration must address the twin pillars that rule over us like the two towers in Lord of the Rings, the archaic class-bred British parliamentary system and the fiat monetary system. Then comes the declining birth rates. In the end, they don't want to replace you because of your race, but because your race does not prolifically breed enough consumers to sustain the rapacious system. Australian birth rates, like all Western nations, took a massive hit from feminism and the homosexual crusades which have popularised abortion, sterility and same-sex unions. This leaves the dwindling Australian banging at the door of representational politics, demanding to be heard. The Westminster system, owned lock, stock and barrel by fiat interests, is not about to let any breakout populist group resettle Parliament. Even if that happened, do you think for a minute the real government, the public service, would enact any of their wishes? Our first duty is to change the system, for the system depends on continuous replacement consumers. That system is also a foreign import. It was not created by Australians for Australians. It is English law, and we are Australians. If we acknowledge that change is needed, then we cannot rely on old institutions to facilitate that change. That is a point that needs the most urgent understanding.